Hello friends, I am Dr. Urmi Satyan and for today's lecture I have selected three subjects related to the English novel. First I will talk about the origin of the novel, then the development of the novel and then we will discuss the types of the novel. The entry of novel into the world of literature is eventful, overpowering and ever sustaining. Prose writing began around 1350 when Boccaccio's Decameron, a collection of around 100 short stories in the Italian language, gained attention. These stories were termed as novelle, meaning new stories. These stories had interesting plots with an artistic sprinkling of humor, wit, fun, and sadness. Decameron was the kind of first acclaimed piece of prose collection that touched upon the subjects of human life and behavior. England then sees the age of Reformation. This was the time when the Catholic Church was losing its ground and the Protestant power was sweeping in. John Wycliffe translated the whole Bible into English. In his book English Literature, Edwin Miller writes that Wycliffe is regarded as the morning star of Reformation and also as the father of English prose. Then we move towards the Elizabethan period of the 16th century, which is very dearly and rightly known as the nest of singing birds. We know that all the Shakespearean plays are written in verse form. This age is followed by the Puritan age, when we see metaphysical poetry. The biggest name in this realm is that of John Donne, whose poetry presents an exaggerated expression of intense human interest. This was the same time when we see John Milton, who gave the one and only epic Paradise Lost to English literature. Next is the age of neoclassicism, when the revival of the Horatian style of poetry takes place in the satirical works of Alexander Pope. So we will not be wrong to say that whether it is drama, poetry or satire, verse was the dominating form of literature till the first quarter of the 17th century. But then comes a turn in the history of English literature, when we notice the growth of the political theatre in the 1730s. This opened up a new avenue for literature. The dramatists started taking freedom. Henry Fielding and Sir Robert Walpole's rivalry is to be explored to understand the introduction of the Stage Licensing Act that came in 1737. This act specifically put some restrictions on the playhouses and the playwrights. This was one of the major reasons for literary artists to shift their attention from drama to prose as the preferred form of literature. By this time, England witnesses the biggest revolution in the field of industries and factories. This revolution gives birth to the biggest middle class. The middle class had considerable access to education, so reading was a new passion as well as a fashion in the prevalent society. The changing society of the 18th century gives a wide range of subject matters to the novelist of the time. These subject matters range from trade to commerce to economy to industry to class distinctions to social hypocrisy to social injustice to child labor and also injustice to women. These subjects were so relatable and identifiable to the public that they could see their struggles in the stories, plots and settings of these novels. Thus, these novels worked as the mirror of the 18th century society of England. The first name in the list of English novelists is Daniel Defoe. Defoe's eponymous novels Robinson Crusoe and Moll Flanders changed the scene of English literature. Both these novels have path-breaking plots. Robinson Crusoe explores the adventurous nature of a man, and Moll Flanders focuses on the hidden strength and desire of a woman. In a way, both these novels introduce the unsung side of human behavior. Ian Bott therefore says that the novels of Daniel Defoe present the assertion of individual freedom from family ties. Defoe's novels break away from the romantic realm of the previous age and invite the readers to witness the world of realism. His novels depict a deep turn in human society. Due to industrial boom, the villages were being deserted and the cities were getting overcrowded. Mass migration from rural to urban areas created a collision and conflict between traditional and newer ways of life. Daniel Defoe started his career as a pamphleteer. From 1704 to 1713, he also published a newspaper called The Review. It is with Defoe, as we have studied, the seeds of realism are sown in the English literature. Defoe's novels give us the depiction of the human desire to live life extraordinarily. Whether men or women, Defoe's characters enjoy challenges, sufferings, and hardships. As we have seen in Robinson Crusoe, his heroic triumph is the hard-earned victory of a man who explores the beauty and the beastliness of a solitary life on an unknown island. Defoe's female persona, Moll Flanders, unlike Robinson, does not abandon social ties but fights against all the unjust and unreasonable social systems. In doing so, she takes moral liberty, but in her later life, we see her being remorseful. However, it is not wrong to say that Moll Flanders also lives a life of courage and moral growth. With all these subject matters, Defoe's argumentative and elaborative narration sets the tone for the realistic novels. Defoe's realistic vision is taken further by four more promising novelists who fictionalize the real situation of the prevalent time. These novelists are Samuel Richardson, Henry Fielding, Tobias Smollett, and Lawrence Dunn. These four are also called the pillars or wheels of English novels of the 18th century. Let us talk in brief about these four novelists. The first among them is Samuel Richardson. It is a little amusing to find how Richardson's art of correspondence gets transformed into a profession of novel writing. Richardson's novel Pamela is a fine amalgam of romance and reality. This novel depicts the helplessness of an orphan girl and her ability to give voice to her emotions by writing letters. Her virtues are rewarded as the extension of the title suggests, not only because the rich landlord and her employer Mr. B proposes to her for marriage, but also because her virtues are instrumental in breaking the barricades of classes. The novel Pamela explores the mundane reality of ordinary class, the hypocrisy of the upper class, and the clashes between moral and immoral points of view in life. Richardson's novels are also called epistolary novels, as epistles, which means letters, play major roles in the construct of his novels. The second among the four pillars is Henry Fielding. His first eponymous novel, Joseph Andrews, presents a male replica of Richardson's Pamela. His novel Tom Jones and Amelia are also famous. The novel Joseph Andrews presents a man with virtues. He is not a man of hollow words. He believes in observing his duties and shouldering his responsibilities in a self-disciplined manner. Whereas Tom Jones is a person of impulsive compassion. We see Tom's impulsiveness in being merciful to the highwayman who attacked him, but later he repents for ignoring the strict justice. Fielding's novel Amelia also presents the complexly wired human behavior and its emotionally tangled actions. His novel Jonathan Wild is based on the life of a notorious criminal of the same name. Here in this novel we can see a considerable touch of the Spanish picaresque novels. The third pillar of the English novel is Tobias Smollett, who depicts long and elaborated scenes from prison cells or courtrooms. His novels explore betrayal, treachery, and social immorality as a crucial characteristic of human behavior. We also see irony and humor embedded in his novels. Most of Smollett's novels explore the adventures and histories of some or the other notorious and nasty characters. The fourth pillar is Lawrence Sterne. Humor and irony were the instruments for Sterne to present social realism of the prevalent time. Sterne introduces an innovative narrative technique in his 9-volume novel Tristram Shandy, where the eponymous character narrates his life as a fetus in his mother's womb. He is born physically in the 3rd volume of the book. Many humorous and unbelievably fanciful scenes make the reading of the novel a little unconvincing and also a little monotonous. Thus, the journey of novel starts with Daniel Defoe's Introduction to Realism, which is taken further by these 4 novelists who have developed the structure and theme of the novel with their individual originality and innovative narrative technique. The reason for the popularity of these novels is the growing interest in reading. Dear friends, every country and every nation feels the urge to tell their own story. It is surprising to note that the English novels take inspiration from the Spanish writer Cervantes, who wrote Don Quixote. This is the novel that breaks away from the traditional chivalric sagas that were being sung and praised in verse and prose forms. English writers take inspiration from Don Quixote and chronicle the socio-economic and political reality of England in their novels. As we have seen, the Industrial Revolution, followed by the rising middle class and its challenges, were the central issues in the 18th century novels. The novelists were inventive in introducing new concepts and perceptions, and so we get various types of novels in English literature. So let us quickly have a look at the types of novels. First is a realistic novel that explores the socio-economic and political reality of the day. Oliver Twist and David Copperfield are the examples among many. Second is a type of picaresque novel. These novels narrate the story of a persona who has lost the locus of control and is involved in one or the other antisocial activity. The word picaro for male and picara for female is originally Spanish, and it means a rogue or a spoiled character whose antisocial engagement is due to the unpleasant social milieu that affects their positive social growth and makes them feel low in social repute. Henry Fielding's Tom Jones is one of the appropriate examples for this type of novel. Next is the type of Gothic novel that includes terror, mystery, horror, thriller, supernatural elements, doom, death, decay, and also some spooky haunted buildings. Examples of Gothic novels are Wuthering Heights by Emily Bronte and Frankenstein by Mary Shelley, just to name a few. We also find epistolary novels where letters play a major role in the construct of the novel. Pamela by Richardson is the best example for this. Next is the type of Bildungsroman novel. Bildungsroman is a German term that indicates growth. These novels fictionalize the protagonist's journey from childhood to adulthood. Charlotte Bronte's Jane Eyre and Charles Dickens' David Copperfield, among many others, are considered in this genre. Autobiographical novels like David Copperfield by Dickens depict the life story of the author himself, who shares his biography through the character of the novel. Then we can also mention satirical novels where the novels work as the baton of an inspector. These novels satirize the social ills and thus give an alarming bell to society. Jonathan Swift's Gulliver's Travels is one of the best examples that satirizes society's blind pursuit of science. Allegorical novels use allegory as an instrument to tell the truth. As we know, an allegory has two levels of meanings, surface meaning and symbolic meaning. The symbolic meaning of an allegory can be political, religious, historical, or philosophical. George Orwell's Animal Farm is an allegorical novel that exposes the socio-political condition in human society. Then we can also study psychological novels or stream of consciousness novels, which are the works of fiction that study the effects of external forces on the characters' minds and feelings. The phrase stream of consciousness was coined by William James in his book Principles of Psychology to describe the flow of thought of the waking mind. Virginia Woolf's Mrs. Dalloway belongs to this genre of the psychological novel. Dear friends, I have tried to give you a very brief introduction to the origin, growth and types of English novels. I would recommend you to read Ian Watt's Rise of the Novel and Edward Miller's English Literature for a complete understanding on the topic. Thank you for your patience. Bye for now.